Hi, and welcome back to, of course, You're Invited. We're real friends, bring real stories. Today, we have Emma Slade Edmondson on, who is an author, a strategist, and the co-founder of Goodform. And she's joined by one of her great friends, her creative partner, and also co-founder, Melissa Legarda. And I'm going to let them introduce each other.
This is Emma Slade Edmondson. She is my co-founder, Goodform. She's also an incredible visionary, a sustainability behavioural change leader, a TEDx speaker, a Forbes 100 environmentalist, and an award-winning podcaster, and an author whose latest book, Mixed, is out now.
And this is Melissa Legarda, my very, very good friend and my co-founder at Goodform. She is also the co-host and exec producer of Eastern Honeys, a top 10% Spotify video podcast. She is a journalist and she is an expert in building community both online and offline.
I know that you host Eastern Honeys. Mm-hmm. You have Mixed Up, which is your podcast. And I guess I wanted to ask how you first met and how identity influenced your relationship.
Okay. Well, actually, funnily enough, how we first met is through, speaking of Eastern Honeys, a mutual friend, because I was looking for a videographer and photographer and have been known to be a bit picky. So I wasn't vibing with anybody and I needed somebody for a project I was working on. So I'd asked Isabel, who's our mutual friend, who actually is the co-host of Eastern Honeys, because she has previously worked with me. And so I know that she understands what I'm looking for, what I want, and she knows my eye and stuff. So yeah, she recommended Mel. And yeah, the first time we met, I just remember thinking, she gets it. She gets it.
Yeah, we met on a hot, sticky day in East Dulwich because we were shooting a campaign for Emma. And I think your house was being renovated or something. There were clothes, colour, like beautiful art and like pots and trinkets. And she was like, sit there, I'm going to change.
You can say everything was everywhere. Everything was everywhere. And all the time.
I just loved like the immediate, she just threw open her front door and was like, make yourself at home. I'm going to sort myself out. And then I think there was a very quick trust that developed because as a photographer, you have to really quickly translate the essence of someone's creative brief, but also make them feel comfortable, but then also feel comfortable to direct them as well. So immediately there was a level of trust and we were able to collaborate off the bat. And then we were like stomping around the streets of Peckham and East Dulwich, and there were so many different like vibes. There was one Lenny Kravitz in his Shades vibes.
Yeah, she got my briefs as well. So I'd be like, "This is Lenny Kravitz doing X and X."
Harlem Black Panther baddie, like there was some amazing looks, and I think that's the first time we collaborated. And we just kept working together after that.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a good, comfortable fit, and. Yeah, I don't often find that right away with creative collaborators. I would say that it takes me a while and I search quite hard for the right people. So yeah, that was that.
And how long ago was that?
Was it before the pandemic?
Yeah,
it was 2019, I think.
2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Had I done my TEDx?
I'm not sure.
I didn't tell anyone about that anyway.
It's 2019, and then we were working together at least once or twice per year at that point, because you'd launched Mixed Up the podcast in 2020.
Yeah.
So off the back of that, I think that.
So 2019, you started sort of your creative collaborative work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did we get from working together on the shoot to Goodform?
So I was working in Paris over the past 2 years for a client on and off, and Emma happened to be based in Paris at the time as well. And so when we were working out there, we would end up having dinners, fitting a quick coffee between all of my shoots across the country, effectively, the city. And every time we met, we just vibed a little more. And I think Emma and I are really, really similar. We both Londoners, both grew up like in and around Northwest London, like had the same cultural references and anchor points.
North Wheezy as well is like a specific vibe, right? Like it's really specific, I feel like, as Londoners. So...
I grew up in West, but now I'm in Northwest.
Yeah.
And there's a vibe.
Yeah. And yeah, I just feel like we just got each other.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. We had a lot of cultural reference points, but I also think that we are similar in how we are generators. We are constantly generating ideas. And you might come across people like that all the time, but it's different when you come across people who generate ideas and then actually bring the ideas to life. That I feel is rare. And so seeing that in you, I was immediately like, I need to be around this person. Because
yeah. And I think because we spoke the same language creatively and in the way that we generate and execute, but also in the fact that we both love to exist in these spaces, like, you know, to be exploratory and experience other cultures and have such a fascination and curiosity for other people and forming those connections. We're both podcasters as well. That really, it was over all these like dinners and conversations and all this sort of pockets of dreaming that we were like, let's do something. And the name Goodform came to us because ultimately the core value that we share is storytelling with purpose. And so storytelling with purpose in whatever way that is, whether it's Emma giving a TED talk or me producing a set of travel photographs for a newspaper, but it's from, you know, my lens as an Asian woman, a brown person, a mixed person, same as Emma. It's having new perspectives to tell those stories with and inviting other people in to tell their story as well. So Goodform was born from all those values and that lovely kind of mixture and alchemy of creativity and culture and all the things I think that drive our generation as well. Specifically, like we're in this world where anything is possible, and if you can think of it, you can create it. And that's something we wanted to bring when creating Goodform, this idea that we can do business differently and in a way that's values-led and in a way where we shape how we do our business. And that's been the core of Goodform, I think, ever since.
I think also we have a lot of, like you were saying, similar background experiences and similar interests. We share the same sense of humour. Like we were both in bands growing up. I played the saxophone, you played the drums. Like every time we spent more time together, we would just discover more points of common ground. And like, you know, very sort of niche references that, this
morning when we were like, oh, let's have a quick peek at the questions, we both discovered that we were auditioning for Bugsy Malone when we were at school.
And we both had specific references from Bugsy Malone that we were like...
Yeah, she desperately wanted to be Tallulah, and I was like practicing Fat Sam's Grand Slam, if you've seen Bugsy Malone.
What are the chances?
I know. But I think it's just, I think it speaks volumes. I think you need to feel safe and seen by your collaborators, and that has never been more evident than when we started working together and creating great work together.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, it's just testament that we both have these podcasts that, unpack identity and belonging and race and heritage in a way that's really important in regards to building community and safeguarding people's experiences and giving people space to express, these lesser known stories. So we know we're on the same page with what we want for ourselves, but also other people in our communities. So, yeah.
And for people wondering, what does Goodform do? What is the business?
Do you want to take this?
You take this.
Well, Goodform, www.ongoodform.com. Goodform is a purpose-driven storytelling house. We're a conscious marketing consultancy and production house. And we specialise in things like podcasts, events. We have so many different things under our belt because my background is in journalism and content production, and photography. Emma's background is, ad agency and sustainability and producing all these amazing touch points with communities. So events, retail, taking over retail shops and transforming them into these hubs where people gather and you can change behaviours and make a great impact. And so I think I like to describe Goodform as purpose-driven storytelling in whatever form that may be. It might be a supper club, it could be a podcast, it could be social media strategy and management, or it could simply be consulting a brand or organisation with a vision on the best way to reach that audience and carry out that vision with kind of creativity, integrity, and importantly, cultural fluency. I think that's the biggest thing for us.
Yeah, it tends to be, our work's really bespoke because, to be frank, we can do a lot of things. And we have a lot of experience across different medias. So whether it's a big campaign or, as Mel said, a simple consultancy, we offer cultural consultancy, for example, for books, film, TV, other media. It's really from a place where we want to understand from a strategy perspective what our clients really need from us. But we do everything through the lens of purpose. And whether that's sustainability focused, whether it's cultural fluency, or whether it's just, authentic storytelling that has a real understanding of like what's going on right now. That is essentially what we deliver on Goodform, because we want to do things the right way, and that's really core to all of our work.
It makes a lot of sense. I feel like you've consolidated both of your experiences into like a direction that just has created something quite beautiful. And it's lovely to see like connection leading to collaboration. Because I think there's like this old tale of like, oh, friends, you don't work with your friends, don't do that thing. But I think what I've realised, especially meeting people, especially through the podcast and people who've collaborated, they've always lent into like friendships and they've lent into spaces where there was a natural chemistry. So I wonder, like, how did you realise that this connection was maybe more than just like a quick coffee, right? It feels like there's like a relationship here, there's a friendship here, and there's something that could be explored in terms of like business.
I would say, I think it happens so organically with us, which I think is the beautiful thing. But I think because when we were collaborating, we were delivering at a standard that was just felt very naturally high to our liking. In a
to our liking,
being like, Emma can be a really tough crowd, but so can I.
Yeah.
And I think because we've both produced behind the camera before, we can feel really dragged if we're in front of the camera and it doesn't feel the same way. So I was really aware of that coming to work with Emma, and vice versa. When we started talking about this, we were like, we come from a place, I think it's really important to say, we come from a place, from corporate structures, from not just going to school in the UK, but also working in British institutions, the creative industries, creative agencies, places where we have not traditionally or historically been treated very well, and historically been underrepresented, marginalised, harmed in the workplace. Dial that up or down as you like. But because we have a blueprint for how we do not want to be treated and the conditions how we don't want to create work, it's helped us create this really safe and harm-free and really nurturing environment where we're feeling safe to be honest and generous and responsive and communicative and all of these things without worrying about all the other things that we have been through. So perhaps it's that as well. It's the shared trauma and understanding of what things have or could be like that makes us so grateful to be able to operate in the way we do.
Yeah. I remember telling you quite early on, because I'm not afraid to tell people, listen, if I don't like this, this will not see the light of day.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. I've already seen the shot on the screen. But yeah, basically I I will say that, and I mean it. There's so many things that I just don't share because I just don't feel like the standard is there. And I also have had some really awful experiences as a Black woman. I think I told you about my Grazia experience quite early. I went to do this shoot. I was the talent. There were other talent. It was basically a roundup of people who've like made immense impact in regards to behaviour change in the secondhand retail space. And I won't, get into the detail, but I left that set in tears. I left that set feeling incredibly disrespected, not listened to. The picture that actually was printed was the one picture I asked not to be used because I felt that it made me clownish. And obviously being somebody who is, well read on race and identity and history, for me, that reference means something quite negative, and I didn't want to be portrayed in that way, and I asked not to be. And to find that when I opened the magazine, this is what they'd gone with, was really distressing for me and upsetting. And that will never go away. Like, that's in print, And so I think being able to share that kind of experience with you and you to understand it because you are a woman of colour, that when we go to do these things, there's so many other things we have to think about. And like you said, we've had these experiences that haven't been so nice. I don't have to explain myself. And that is really a relief.
There's an ease, and I think there's a lot of like safety in just feeling understood. And it sounds like you both see each other and you feel quite seen. And it probably lays down the foundation for you to be able to then excel and thrive and do great work. I wondered what radical honesty means to you both, because it came up quite a lot through your experiences and you speaking about working together and being able to be honest, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. How do you practice it?
Well, when we first set up Goodform, we had a really frank, honest conversation with each other where we developed our agreement for working together. And what kept on coming up was that we wanted to be able to communicate well, we wanted to be honest, we wanted to make sure that we spoke about things when they were happening, or, we didn't let things fester.
No resentment building up in secret. If you're feeling pressed, share it. We've written that into our business contract, We will communicate transparently and honestly. We will always endeavour to hear the other one out and find a third-party mediator if we can't. But you just have to rip off the Band-Aid. But I think the thing is, because of, past collaborations or past workplace experiences or even interpersonal relationships that have had conflict, we both come to Goodform and recognise the importance of doing the complete opposite to what we've been through before. So we always just hear each other, and it's never in a way where we're feeling threatened or anything, because we know we're on the same team.
Yeah,
so it's
we
just
built the trust.
The trust
to
is
know
there.
that if I'm saying something to you or you're saying something to me, it's for the good of us and our relationship, not because we're trying to dig each other out.
Yeah.
So I feel like also the other thing is that we wrote in our contract, we basically said we wanted to show appreciation for one another as much as possible, and because we both want to feel appreciated in our working relationship. I think that drives me and makes me do better work, and I know that about myself. And so I also love appreciating incredible skill and talent and work, so I know I'll always be doing that. So it was like this contract between us, like, if we see each other doing great work, let's let each other know, let's celebrate that, and let's make sure that we appreciate what each other's bringing to the table. And I think the difference that makes in a working relationship is, almost priceless, because that's what creates the safety, that's what creates the possibility for you to share when, okay, things didn't work out so well that time, or, oh, I felt, you know, I didn't love that or whatever. Because you've already built this foundation of knowing that you appreciate each other. So it's not, you know.
Yeah, also, like, in other workplaces, it would be a case where you'd have to see, like, an old manager be held at gunpoint to say, well done, you did a great job, nice one. Or, you know, it's just not done. It's very British, I guess, to be like, yeah, not bad, not bad. Yeah, didn't fail or whatever.
Didn't mess up. Like,
whereas even something as small like, mate, that was an excellent email you wrote.
Yeah.
Well done. Or like, you did really well in that pitch, even though I know you should start your period or you're feeling pressed. We smashed that. Or, you know, for me, I'm like, thanks, Emma, for handling all the emails while I was running around the Philippines on an 8-hour plus time zone. You know, these things, the small gratitude goes a really long way. And that's also a part of the communication. You know, it's not just communicating about what we need to do. It's also making sure we have good communication as people, because a business starts and ends with you. And I think we're so used to, as podcasters, you know, Emma's written Mixed, explore and celebrate your mixed identity, plug the new children's book. We're so used to having to create these communities. We're so used to having communities where we have to create spaces of care for people, because we have tough conversations and cover very sticky topics, difficult, challenging topics. When you're plumbing race, heritage, identity, as you mentioned earlier, you need to have a foundation of care. So that's something we have built into our business, is being on good form. And you have to have a strong foundation to be on good form, and honest, radical honesty, no matter how difficult it is. But radical honesty gets a little bit easier if you know you're on the same team from the jump.
You can trust their word.
Yeah.
There's something that you were speaking about where I was like, do we all need to contract our families, our friends?
Yeah.
Like, there is something, it sounds so silly, but I was just like, there's something like really quite powerful about having it written on a page.
Yeah.
And just really agreeing to it. And like, I think often so many things are lost in assumption.
Fully.
Because we just like, okay, like, I assume you're going to do that and this and expectations. But sometimes you do have to just like iron it out. And the most simplest things, like, we will appreciate each other, can have like a massive knock-on effect.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I always think about how people talk about how business relationships can be more tricky. But in a flip side, if you are approaching business in the way that you are with like full transparency, it feels like it could even possibly be simpler, because actually you've covered all your bases. You've put out everything on track. Because I know, because we speak a lot about friendship on this podcast, and sometimes with friendship, the lines can be a bit blurred, and it's hard to like actually be like, hey, I have that conversation with a friend. But there's something about contracts that feel quite official and serious, and relationships are serious. I mean, it does take effort and it does take time, and that's something that you clearly have like presented, that you're willing to like put that effort in.
Yeah, and also contracts are important, especially in the creative industries, because it means you're protecting each other.
Yeah.
Like, that means if you create a contract or an agreement as business partners, as collaborators, as whatever your project is, it means you acknowledge there's a duty of care and accountability between each other, and then that allows a healthy like garden to grow in. And I think, yeah, I can't remember what book it was. It's a book about conflict. And it's said that when people can move forward from conflict and take accountability and responsibility while leaving their ego at the door, that's when a relationship can move forward productively and grow. And it's, you know, you were talking about your mum, talking about us coming out of other scenarios where maybe conflict wasn't resolved or handled productively. And in this book, it describes conflict as a tennis court. There's a net, and it's you and it's your opponent. And when you hit the ball over the net, you can only describe what's happening in your side of the court, and the other person only knows what's happening on their side of the court. So you can't be like, you did this and that, hit. It's like, when this happened, I felt this, hit, because that's your side of the court. You can't, in productively resolving conflict, you have to stick to your side of the court and hear the other person as they bat the tennis ball back to you. So I find that really useful for thinking about conflict and learning diplomacy. I think I've learned to be a lot more diplomatic since working with Emma. Yeah.
I think I'll take it back to that appreciation thing, because I think for me it all comes down to trust, because I already trust that neither of us are coming from a place of malice, because we don't want to do that with each other. I know that if you're bringing something to me, or if we're having a techie time, it's not coming from a bad place, and so I can just accept it. We can figure out what to do and we can move forward, and it's pretty simple. And I think also that enables us to intuit when one of us needs to step up for the other, which I think is a really important and brilliant thing that we do. You know, like, actually, I think, to be honest, there was one of the webinars we did, it might have even been one that you attended. I think that morning I was a mess. I think I was all over the place. I think I was on my period, like hormones were all over the place. I felt erratic. Anxiety was like raging through coursing through my veins. And I just remember that I wasn't making sense, but you just managed to calm me down and get me back in the headspace, and also just take on the things that I couldn't manage. But I didn't have to ask you, I didn't have to tell you. You were like, Emma's really like probably off on one today. Let me just take charge. And yeah, and that's kind of what it's about. It's like stepping up for each other when you see that the other person needs it, and know like that's coming back around for you. So it's cool. Like it's no biggie.
Yeah. Similarly, I got officially diagnosed with ADD, inattentive ADD, in January. And while I was spiraling, Emma was like, "You're fine, mate. Just crack on, keep going." But, you know, there's something also inherently to working with women and women of colour, where there is a duty of care and an empathy that exists in our relationship that simply doesn't exist in other collaborations. And I think that is really key as well. So
I love that you've been able to support each other, especially through your diagnosis. And you mentioned, like, I guess it comes down to, like, you know, stepping into the day and being like, I'm at like 1% today. Can you pick up the 99? And you're like, I got you.
Yeah,
and then sometimes it might be 60, 40, 50, 50. And it always changes, right?
Always changes. And it's so funny you say that, because we'll get on a client call in the morning and Emma's bad cop and I'm good cop. And then we'll get a call in the afternoon and I'm moody and I'm not even mustering. She's like, I guess I'm good cop now. No lies detected. After that, she's like, Mel, your face. I'm like, I know, I was really trying to like sort my face.
It's your face.
The face. But yeah, it's a relationship, you know. It's like any other relationship. You got to hold each other and also express what your percentage is so the other one can pick it up.
Community is inconvenience. That is something that comes to mind. My friend Nazra, who's one of my best friends, also a woman of colour, always says that to me. And she always says that we need to be comfortable with being able to pick up the slack and like do the things that like might inconvenience us in to serve others, because we can't be individualistic.
Takes a
in
village.
Our approach. Right, it takes a village. And that's something that I think was running through my mind when you were speaking, right? Being able to like pick up the slack, being able to like hold space, and center your dynamic as opposed to centering yourself. And that reminds me of your wonderful book, Mixed. Something that I love about this book is that it educates young people about their heritage. And something that when I was looking through, I was like, I wish I had this. I wish my mum had this, because it might have been an inconvenience for her to read it and be like, whew, there's a lot that I need to take in and a lot of research I need to do. But ultimately, it would have served our relationship tenfold. So I just wanted to ask you about identity. I wanted to ask you about this book, what it means to you, and how you feel like it serves the wider community.
I'm the same as you. I wish I had that book. So I wrote the book I wish I had, and also the book I know, because I've now interviewed hundreds of people on my podcast, Mixed Up. the book that I knew that they all needed and wanted when they were young. And it's really interesting because the first event I went to, a man who's like 40, in his mid 40s, came to the event. It was supposed to be for parents and their children. And he just came alone, and he just kept on saying, like, there's been nothing for us. There's been nothing for me. I've come here today for myself, for my younger self, because I needed this book, and I'm so happy you've written it. And he bought a bunch of copies. I don't know who he was gonna give them out to, but I was like, more power. And that's really why I wrote this book, because there's lots of 50-year-olds out there right now, who people often say to me, I'm 50 and this is like the first time I've been allowed to have this conversation. I've been allowed to explore this difficulty in understanding myself as a mixed person, in understanding what I experienced growing up, being disenfranchised between two worlds, or feeling like I wasn't afforded the gift to explore my heritage, or the permission to own either side of it. And that's such a huge thing for people, to become comfortable with yourself is to know yourself intimately, and to be allowed to let your mind go to those places, and then to explore those questions and the answers. And more than anything, I hope that, like you said, this book is not just for children, it's actually really massively for parents, because I wrote it so that parents could read it with their children and they could learn at the same time. I loved to read when I was little, so I also wrote this as, I hope, a stretch text. I did not write this in a way that it's like dumbing things down, or, speaking down to children in any way. And therefore I feel like parents should be able to also read this and feel completely comfortable with it. Well, not completely comfortable, you're right, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be discomfort in learning some of the themes and covering some of the topics. But, I think it's a really good exercise for parents to do with children. And it's as much about them learning as it is about children feeling able to explore and celebrate. They can only do that if they're facilitated, right? Like, I don't know if we necessarily were. So this is a real opportunity for, the next generation to do things differently.
Oh, what a tool. I feel like, and I just think so much about belonging. It reminds me of belonging and not feeling like I understood, right? And I know that's directly a response to allowing people to then feel like they actually are a part of something and they can feel comfortable with who they are. I guess in response to what you said, I wanted to ask you both what belonging means to you in relation to identity, in relation to growing up in the UK and maybe having difficult situations in the creative industries, as you mentioned. But what does really belonging mean to you now?
Big old question.
That's a big one, yeah.
I was going to briefly just say that Emma's book Mixed is being recommended to be put on the national curriculum.
Oh, yes.
And I think that would be an incredible tool if it is included in the national curriculum. I also think books like Natives by Akala should be in the national curriculum.
God,
let's get some new tools in the
in the mix.
In the mix. Government, you listening? Gosh, belonging. Do you want to kick off with that?
Not really, but I'll give it my best shot. I think, as the wonderful Afua Hirsch once said to me on an episode of Mixed Up, belonging is not a destination, it's a journey. And I believe that to be one of the truest things I've ever heard. And I am on the journey. I'll still be on the journey, probably, if you ask me in another 20 years. Who knows what it holds next. But I will say that the work I've done in this area has been like therapy for me. It has helped me so much in understanding myself in relation to others, and in feeling comfortable in my own skin. I think I probably uncovered that I wasn't comfortable in doing it necessarily. but I would never have been able to identify these specific points of discomfort if I hadn't done the work. And yeah, I've got a lot out of it, but I'm still on the journey.
I think belonging is such a ever evolving, malleable, and this like intangible concept that moves as we change. And I think, you know, growing up, there's this incessant need to put us all in boxes, whether that's racially or what music we like, or even the genres of music, you know, all these things. People just want to label and file away and have things be really neat. And I've learned that it's okay not to colour between the lines. We are all these multi-hyphenate, complex human beings with so many different interests. And we can create these pockets of belonging based on different facets of who we are. I think, you know, being mixed gives us access to different worlds of fluency to move between these worlds, a greater empathy for being able to understand one another. I think also being someone in travel, I feel like I belong when I'm in transit, when I'm in a place with lots of people from other places, when I'm in a city like London or Paris, where there's also people from other places existing and building and, like, you know, creating community together. I feel so much belonging in diaspora because I know what it is to be in my motherland, and I'm like, hold on, I feel really British right now. But when I'm in Britain, I'm like, I feel really Filipino right now. And only my diaspora can understand that. So I think belonging is, you know, what we create at Goodform. It's what kind of like undulates under all the different projects that we do and the stories that we tell. And it's like the most exciting journey of our lives to interrogate belonging, or for me at least, interrogate belonging and seek to understand it and find ways to help other people belong a little more. Yeah.
Part of Mel's career is deeply rooted in the travel industry, and it's impossible for you to think about that work without thinking about the impact that travel has on the planet, the impact that travel has on, like, your ancestral homeland,
Right.
and the people that exist there. So it's, you know, and all those people that want to go to those places and enjoy, you know, the beach, the sea, the surfing, the food, whatever it is. It's about trying to sort of unpack and peel back the layers for them on what it means to protect those places that they love to go and see and to spend time in, to visit, and how we are all involved in that protection, in that safeguarding. Otherwise we won't have any of those things. We have nothing. But how also that means that you have to care for the people who exist there when you leave. Those people who care for those spaces and those places that you love.
Yeah, it is a personalist political thing, because also as a brown woman working in the travel industry, I am much more aware of certain issues than other people who might operate in that industry, because that's heritage and, yeah, ancestrally close to me. So this just comes back to the necessity of having different perspectives, diverse perspectives across every industry. So it's not just this one homogenous lens, which it can be.
So true. Like,
Yeah.
understanding how things that impact you on a micro and macro level. It just made me think of, like, my relationship with my mom and us speaking about race. Actually, my mom is white, and I think it really took her a long time to understand that my experience also impacts her as a mother of someone who is brown, and, like, she was very colorblind. That I don't see color, but I don't, you know, that sort of thing. So she didn't understand how I was getting so upset about her sort of, like, disregarding my experience. But it wasn't until she realized that actually my experience of the world is very different, and two things can be true at the same time. Like, you see the world how you see the world, but my experience within the structures that are pitted against me is very different from your experience as a white woman. And now you have the personal responsibility to understand my experience and then actively engage with materials, with books, with resources that will like strengthen our relationship. And I feel like it wasn't until she realized that it was like her active duty to do that, that she took an interest and she started to actually understand that she was being ignorant. And I always wonder about climate. It's like people need to understand their like their active duty, right? It's like, how does it impact you, which it does directly, but then what is your personal responsibility in it?
Fully. It comes back to the whole, it's not enough to be not racist. You have to be anti-racist.
Right.
You can't say I am not political if the mere, everything is political. The mere act of resharing human rights atrocities is essential if you truly care about the equality of all human beings, and the same for climate, the same for race relations, and everything's connected.
The same for how you cast a film that you're producing, you know, it's in everything we do. I'm really interested though, as you will know, in what was the turning point for your mom. Do you think there was like a trigger in your conversations with her, or anything that happened that moved her to realise, do you know what, your experiences are so different from mine, and that requires me to...
I don't know if it was a single trigger. Our relationship has always been very tumultuous. Like, I just remember shouting down, like walking down the street, just shouting, which is when George Floyd passed, just being like, you don't get it, and like just raging. And my mom lives abroad, so like we weren't able to have those conversations one-to-one, and just everyone on the street looking at me like, oh my God, what is going on? So it was like, there was a lot of tears, there was a lot of anger. I think ultimately it changed over a period of time where race wasn't the focal point of the conversation. It was actually internal healing that brought us closer together. I think we both had to do work to be able to sit in front of each other and accept our different opinions for us to move forward, if that makes sense. I think my mum had a complicated relationship with our dad, who's Jamaican, and I think she associated a lot of like topics around blackness and race with an abusive partner, essentially.
Difficult.
So it was really hard, and it was for me to then be able to like go on my own journey and like understand where her perspective was coming from, for me not to be coming with anger and heat and being like, you know, you're wrong. So I had to go on my own journey. She had to go on her own journey. And then and when we done enough work on ourselves, we were then able to like talk about so many different things, from our childhood to upbringing. And then like race came up, and she was like, you know what, I'm really sorry. I think I just had so much anger towards your father that it blinded me to being able to like sit down and have an honest conversation about what's going on. So I think that's a long-winded way of saying that it took personal responsibility in like healing, going on that healing trauma journey for us to like speak about race.
Yeah. You don't know what that trigger point was, but undoubtedly there would have been a moment for her when she would have felt, in order for me to nurture my relationship with my daughter, you know, I have to hear her, and there's work that needs to be done here.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask her. I can ask her what the moment was.
Let's ring her right now.
Yeah.
Get her on the blower.
But and something that I really admire in your connection is how much you appreciate each other, and how intently you listen to one another as well. Just hearing you speak, and you can see that in each other's faces, and like just being like really wanting to hear what you have to say. I wanted to ask, like, what do you feel the other person has allowed you to understand about yourself?
She's really full of wisdom. That's why I always look like that when she's talking.
See my beard?
Gandalf?
She's a bit of a Gandalf. Yeah. Sorry, what's your question? Could you tell me again? Because I was too busy doing rants. So.
No. What do you feel like you've learned about yourself through the other person?
Interesting. Do you know what? I learn so much from Emma every day. And I know how much I've learned from Emma when I'm away from her and I'm having my own conversations with people in business. I've really learned to advocate for myself because of Emma's boundaries. This is Business Baddie OG 101. I can't tell you how pressed, clapped and chopped I feel when I have to talk to someone about an invoice for myself, when I have to set my own boundaries. And Emma's so it's the first thing she leads with, the boundary, being like, I don't like that. I'm like, you know, that sends my nervous system into dysregulation. This idea that I have to say something in conflict to someone else. I think, you know, child of immigrants thing, brown person thing, woman thing, like, take your pick. But Emma is so comfortable with doing that now that I've become comfortable as a result. And I've learned to regulate myself and advocate for myself in business, in life, in interpersonal conflict. And I think that's like, really thank you for teaching that to me, passing it on.
You're welcome.
Also, just, you know, to come back to what you were saying, I think radical honesty, creating belonging, all of that requires vulnerability. And women are naturally vulnerable. And I think it's learning how to carry the vulnerability and protect it for one another that I've really learned from Emma. And also, like, even before we started working together, I would listen to Mixed Up, the podcast, because it made me feel belonging. And I loved hearing other people be vulnerable and tell their stories. And something I also learned from Emma is how to speak more confidently about my race and identity and mixedness as well. It's not something that I really spoke publicly about before learning the tools and language to talk about it from Emma. So I think there's a lot of things there that I've learned from you. Yeah.
This is it. I'm like, where shall I begin?
Yeah.
I learn from Mel every day. And I think, you know, to speak to what you were talking about, I think, funnily enough, I don't know if you'll know this, but I have learned it's okay to be vulnerable and say, oh, do you know what, this is not my strong suit. I think before I worked with you, I felt the need to be able to do everything and to be able to do it to such a high standard that it would actually make me anxious if there was something that I know, like, this is not actually necessarily my strongest thing. And I wouldn't necessarily tell anyone that. But you've taught me that it's okay and it's safe to say, you know what, that's not my strongest thing. Can you help me with this? God, I sound like wildly
No, not at all.
unable to, you know.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I think we're both perfectionists and we both like to do things to a high standard. And it's sometimes difficult for me to...
But on that, we're never critical of other people. We're critical of ourselves. And we're always like holding mirrors up to each other in that respect, which is why I think it allows us to tell the other one to step back off the ledge, my friend.
Yeah.
Pull back from the spiral.
Yeah, oh
We're
God,
always
I know
sending
her too well.
We're sending each other memes of, like, you know, like someone who's fallen off an iceberg and the other one goes to rescue them and ends up in a worse
They're
place.
both like slipping across the ice
Yeah.
together.
And we're like, it's me.
Oh
Like
God.
two Humpty Dumptys on the ice.
Yeah.
But the other thing is also, I think, because I have worked on my own for such a long time previously, I didn't know it was okay to say, oh, you know, I'm not well, or, yeah, I am on my period, or, you know, I didn't know that I could be vulnerable in those ways and still maintain respect in a work context. And you've definitely taught me that.
It's because I think there's nothing more incredible, and you linked me a Substack about this the other day, nothing more incredible than a woman, and a woman of colour, that feels confident to show up as herself in every space. And I think we've granted each other the permission to do that, because giving a bad performance on one day does not reduce or in any way eradicate historical excellence for us. But we've been taught and trained to always deliver excellence, and that anything less is a blight on us and a blight on humanity. It's okay, take me to the ledge. Step back from the ledge. Like, so I think there's, on our worst day, it's still 60% better, 80% better than what the norm is. And it's also cutting ourselves some slack and deprogramming from what previous workplaces or modes of operation that are shaped by patriarchy, imperialism, colonialism, oppression, etc., that have taught and primed us. It's a lot of dismantling that and slowly rebuilding, you know, the table we want to sit at, the house we want to live in, what colour we want to paint the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a softness in being like seen, I think.
Yeah.
I always think about that with my friend Nazra again. Like I always think about her because I'm always like, thank you so much for just being there.
Yeah.
And like not having to put on a brave face. And she's always like, you know, whatever capacity you show up in, I still love you, girl. It's fine. Like you can cry on this FaceTime. And I always think about that because I'm like, I feel like being able to be seen at your most vulnerable and someone, as you said, someone still being like, you're still great. It doesn't take anything away from you. Just is part of that deconditioning of like, I can just be myself and I don't need to like excel. I don't need to be productive. I can be soft, and like feeling safe in that space also allows you to sort of like unclench your fist and you're like, oh, I can just let go. I don't have to be in control of everything all the time. Like it's okay. Like this person's got me. I'm safe. And I can just be like, I always say that fuzzy brain and be like, oh, they're going to take care of it.
That's so true. Like, you know, we're so used to like holding all our battle weapons. As we even go out to get coffee in London, we're like this. And for the first time in our like, you know, in our like villain's lair, we can just close the battle room and not even think about the weapons. We're like, this is a place where you just
Let's just eat cake.
Let's eat cake.
You know, and to be like, safety is the key word, you know, just feeling safe and being able to operate from a healthy place and deliver great work or form great business or build great community or have fruitful relationships and friendships all comes from a place of safety and vulnerability, and in turn that creates belonging and gives us the tools and learnings to be able to replicate that and develop, like you said, generational resilience.
Gosh, I would love for you guys to be my bosses. I'm like, can you do my podcast? Oh my gosh, you need to do some leadership like workshops for all these CEOs out here.
Love to do that.
could do
Great.
that.
Noted.
We're getting to that point of the show where I count down from 5, and then I would like you both to say a word that comes to mind. And it could be any word. You can look at each other, you can try and, you know, see if the brainwaves connect.
I feel like we're going to say the same word.
Oh,
I don't know.
Are you ready for me to count down?
How many words are we saying? Just one?
Just one.
Okay.
I mean, if I say 2, then I feel like I already know the word.
Okay.
So I'm going to say one word.
I'm going to say something that's not the word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Abundance.
Gratitude.
Oh,
that's nice.
That is really lovely.
Yeah.
I was going to say safety, and then I was like,
Yeah.
Wild West out there. Like.
In a harness on the ledge. Yeah, you're good. Let's bring her back in.
No,
Yeah.
we're not on the iceberg. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a fruitful conversation. I feel like there's so many things that I'm just going to go and like just research for myself, and I've just been, I don't know, I just feel like something's connected in my brain. I'm like, oh yes, like safety, that is so important in all contexts, especially in business, right? You want to feel safe with who you're working with. So I just want to thank you for sharing that with me today.
Thank you for creating such a safe space for us to be ourselves and show up as ourselves. Because also it can be, you know, like intense being on a camera, and it can feel, when it's not like this lovely belongingness vibe where it's all shaped by us having cultural fluency with one another, you can sit here and feel under threat.
Yeah.
And you don't feel that at all.
But you're also good at this. You've got like such a nice, calm,
Empathy
welcoming vibe, and
yeah.
it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh,
congratulations on this podcast.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot from podcasters. I'm like, oh.
Also, like
Thanks.
you were saying, you know, generational resilience and the way our parents' generations had open door policies and community and the village. Our village is online. So it takes people like you creating these spaces to then share for people to look at and feel less alone. And yeah, all of it is something that is brilliant.